Guys, remember a couple of days back I did a video about the underwater pyramids off the coast of Taiwan, built by giants, for giants, at least that's how I interpret these things. These definitely don't look like random acts of nature, these nice straight lines, 90-degree angles. Those were more than likely built by what I would consider very large people. If these were steps of some sort, this man right here would need a step ladder just to get up one step. So whoever built these must have been quite large. What if I told you guys I found another large ship? Remember back in 2020 when I ran across this, what was being described as an ice ship down in Antarctica? This one here wasn't that big. It was around 400 feet long, but still it had an uncanny resemblance to a yacht or a ship floating down off the coast of Antarctica. And these giant people that built these giant pyramids needed a way to get back and forth to work. Here we go. Here's a ship a mile wide. This could have easily carried giants way back in the day, say maybe 12,000 years ago when they're anticipating that these underwater pyramids were built. That's what they're saying, 12,000 years ago. Well, what if 12,000 years ago this ship, or at least what looks like the remnants of a ship, was much closer to Taiwan, and somehow it ended up down here in the Antarctica area, not far from the smaller ice ship that I discovered back in 2020. I just ran across this today, and there's not only one ship here, there's what looks like two, and we're going to take a much closer look at everything that I've found here down near Antarctica. A lot of cool stuff to look at here. There appears to be a very tall mast over here to the left. There appears to be an anchor. There appears to be a rudder, and there appears to be what could be cable, maybe rope, something that held the anchor that might be right there. So let's take a closer look at what's going on in this area. And here we go. We're going to take a closer look at this area. I'm going to point out some things that I discovered here in this very remote part of the earth that to me are way beyond a coincidence. They look like they could have been part of a functioning ship many, many thousands of years ago, quite possibly 12,000 years ago. Who knows? But whatever the case may be, this large area right here looks like to me whatever's here was built with purpose. You can obviously see what looks like the shape of a ship, right? Right down here underneath the hull of the ship, that could have been an anchor. This could have been the chain, maybe a cable, a rope or something that went over to the anchor. Maybe this right here was a rudder, and then of course the ship itself. And there's also a smaller ship up here I'm calling a chaser, maybe a security ship that probably followed along this thing that you're going to see crystal clear here in just a minute. I wanted to show you guys first the dimensions of this thing. The length is approximately 5,345 feet. That's just over a mile long. Plenty big to carry giants back and forth to a job site. And as you can see, the approximate width was around 1,466 feet. The next images you guys are going to see have been slightly modified. I was trying to pull forward and highlight other features that are in this very unique part of the world. Right here, to me, this looks like it could have been an anchor. That could have been a rudder. This is obviously the ship. At first, when I saw this line here on the left-hand side of what looks like a giant hull, I thought maybe this was an upper or a lower deck, but what made more sense was a cable, chain, maybe a rope that was connected to this thing over here that could have been an anchor for this massive craft that's just over a mile long. Maybe this is the rudder right here that steered this huge vessel. This one here turned out really good. You can see what looks like an intelligently designed structure. This doesn't look random. It looks like a massive old ship. Zooming in, you can see some characteristics up here. Obviously, it's very weathered and petrified. You can see what look like spindles or something right there. Maybe the side of this giant ship. This here, I was interpreting this as a massive anchor. And then this right here, I was looking at as possibly a chain or what's left of a chain, maybe a cable that held on to that giant anchor. Built by giants, for giants. A massive mile-wide ship shows up down in Antarctica. And I put this image in Google Images and nothing came up. Here's a smaller 500-foot chase boat. I'm calling this a chase boat, maybe a security boat. And as we zoom in tighter, you can see this smaller one that's 500 feet long appears to have some damage over here on the right-hand side, but you can clearly see the outline of what looks like yet another ship right here in this area. And coming up right here is a modified format. I do this to pull forward any other features that may not be visible in the original format, that's all. So there's about 8, maybe 10 different modified versions, and they all appear to be about the same, but you can clearly see what looks like damage right there. See that? Other than that, it's primarily intact. You can clearly see what looks like a structure that was built with purpose. This doesn't look random. Everything else looks random in the area except this right here. This one here turned out about the best. You can clearly see a point here, an edge over there, a curved edge over here, and then this side up here sustaining damage. But other than that, it's primarily intact. Coming in at 486 feet long, approximately, and then the width of this thing was around 171 feet intact. If this curved all the way up and around like this bottom side, it would be around 171 feet wide. So even though this is nearly 500 feet long, it's small compared to the massive mothership that it's sitting right next to. I mean, who knows? Maybe long, long ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, these two vessels that clearly appear to be of intelligent origin traveled the seas together. This one here being the large, what I would definitely call a mothership, coming in at just over 1 mile wide. And there was another surface feature here that didn't look natural either. This thing right here. This measures 2,400 feet long. Let's measure it from top to bottom. 2,491 feet long. This reminded me of a mast. Notice how it's a different color than the rest of the terrain. It looks like maybe it came in from a different location. Maybe it came in as part of this ship right here. Here's another look at the mast. I adjusted the color a little bit trying to pull it forward. And here's another view of that mast. What I did was I put it on top of the ship, and you can kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, the mast is big, but the ship is even bigger. They both look like they were of intelligent design. And when I ran across this area, the first thing I noticed was the different color and the obvious shape. To me, that's undeniable. That is an old ship that many, many moons ago traveled the 7 seas around planet Earth. So once again, what looks like a possible massive ship discovered down in Antarctica, just over 1 mile wide, complete with an anchor, a rudder, possible cable that didn't appear to be traveling alone. I'll put the coordinates to this location down below in the description box. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.